Back on the SportsMax zone, we continue with football and tell you about some scathing remarks on the state of football pitches in Jamaica from the head coach of the senior men's team, Heimir Hallgrímsson, who took over as Reggae Boyz head coach in September 2022. He says he's surprised at the poor state of the football pitches in Jamaica. Speaking at a Football Federation press conference on Tuesday, the 55-year-old says that while there is talent in the country, many players could lose out on opportunities to play overseas due to the poor quality of the playing surfaces.
I think the problem is the pitches. The pitches is the problem. I don't know if I should step into that landmine, but it really affects, the pitches really affect and control what kind of football is played in Jamaica. So now, coming from a country really struggling with growing grass and trees and flowers because of cold and darkness, I'm amazed that the grass pitches are not better here. And the most sadly part is that you drive past 3 golf courses with like a carpet grass, and then you come to a football pitch and you don't know what it is. So the thing is, if I put it into perspective, today, most of modern football trainings is passing drills. So I would say maybe 50%, 60% of all drills, if it's tactical or whatever, is passing drills. And it's hardly not possible to do it in Jamaica because the ball will bounce to your chest if you pass it on the ground. So if a club here wants to sell a player, what sells a player is his stats, is his statistics. So what kind of player is that? You know, how many passes does he have? Really low percentage of passes here in Jamaica because it always ends up with a long ball. Secondly, completed passes. How skillful is he when he is passing? Very low percentage in Jamaica. So it's really hard to sell a player here from the thing that normally will sell a player, which is his statistics. So I've a little bit joked. I'm still in the negative part, sorry. I've both in fun and not. I think if a club here would buy Lionel Messi for a local club here, he would probably in 1 or 2 weeks just be an average player. Because he would always need 2, 3... He will always need 2, 3 touches when he's used to just doing 1 touch. So it's difficult for a good player to play well in a bad grass. That is what I'm saying.
Tuesday's press conference was held by the Jamaica Football Federation to unveil the new Adidas-sponsored national team kits for 2023. The kits were being presented to the public for the first time since the collaboration with Adidas was announced in January. So Ricardo Lance, I'll start with you, Ricardo. What do you make of Coach Hallgrímsson's comments regarding the state of football fields in Jamaica?
Well, yeah, as I said at the top of the show, right, it's nothing new. It's not the first time that we've heard this. As long as I can remember, we've lamented the state of football fields in Jamaica, both at the high school level and the Premier League level. Of course, over the years, both at the high school level and the Premier League level, attempts have been made to have matches played on the best available surfaces. From what I recall a few years ago, it's part of the reason why the PFJL started having so many neutral venues in the Premier League, because the thinking is if you can get the players operating on the best available surfaces, then chances are the football will look better as well. Having said that, there are clearly still some issues. One, do we have enough quality venues? And given the amount of football that is played, do we have enough venues that can essentially have that much football while the fields remain at a quality level throughout the course of an entire season, an entire schoolboy football season, an entire Jamaica Premier League season? Let's take Arnett Gardens as an example, Lance. I remember sometime midway the schoolboy football season last year, that was 2022, and the start of the Jamaica Premier League. And when I saw the schedule of matches for Arnett Gardens, I immediately became concerned. I thought to myself, Arnett Gardens is one of the better fields in the country at its best. But when I looked at the amount of football that was scheduled to be played there, I thought to myself, there is no way this is going to last. Right. And then so said, so done. In a matter of weeks or months, you can't play matches at Arnett Gardens anymore because now the field is in a terrible condition and you need to play at some other field that you're going to wait until it runs down before you go somewhere else and run that one down again. And so I think there is also an issue with organizers and the powers that be planning ahead and understanding that you can't wait until a field runs down to nothing before you're trying to find another one. It has to be a more calculated, a more thought-out approach in relation to how we're going to get our players consistently operating on the very best fields. We already have limitations because we already don't have enough fields that will rival the best in the world. And so you already start with those limitations. So, but at the same time, you have to be able to think and be ahead of the game to ensure that you are operating on the best that you have at all times. And I just don't think we've been able to do that, and definitely not this season.
Yeah, and Lance, listening to Coach, we see how it affects the players. He spoke about their stats, the things that we would use to, of course, sell these players internationally has now become a problem. It's affected.
Of course it does. And a lot of the business of football at the moment is pivoting on getting players sold and giving players opportunity to get professional contracts and so on. But this, as Ricardo said, is not a new problem. June will make 39 years that I've been in the media, and I played competitive football from I was a teenager. And I have to say the fields were even worse then than they are now. So the fact that there's been improvement and it is still not good tells you where the problem, how bad the problem was originally. And part of the reason why Arnett Gardens to Mariah and Ricardo is one of the better fields is because Arnett Gardens actually doesn't train on the field anymore. They train at the nearby Charlie Smith Comprehensive Field. So Arnett Gardens match field is no longer their training field. And they are one of the few clubs that has that luxury because all the other clubs train on the field that they play on match day, which is a huge problem. So there is a critical issue that has to be addressed when it comes to local football. Football teams in the Premier League and even outside of the Premier League need to have training grounds separate from their match fields because it is unreasonable to expect that you can keep a match field in the kind of shape and quality that is needed if you're going to be training on it 5 or 6 days a week.
Yeah, you've said, Lance, that you've been in the media 39 years.
Yes.
I guarantee you there has been at least one story about the poor quality of the football surfaces in Jamaica each year that you've been in the media. Yeah, that's
for sure. And when I was doing radio, we had a Wednesday night sports talk show, and it was a perennial issue that came up on the show that, you know, the quality of the football fields must improve. Because Hallgrimsson is 100% correct. The players are not going to be able to develop and improve their abilities with substandard playing conditions.
Yeah, and the fact that he would go as far as to say that if Lionel Messi played in this league, he would look average, tells you how disappointed he is about the quality of the playing surfaces we have here in Jamaica. Because understand this, his response actually came from a question about what has surprised him in the time that he's been here as head coach. And that was a large part of his answer, that he spoke about the positive surprises, he spoke about the quality of the players and how deep the talent pool is, and then on the negative end, the fields and how poor the surfaces are, and also the fact that he would be talking about passing drills in training, which you can't do. Now, if you can't have surfaces to train on that will help you to do the right things, how then can you execute the right things when you go into match situations, maybe even if you end up getting a quality field, because you're just not accustomed to doing the things that you do when the ball is true, when the surface is true. You're at a disadvantage always.
We can close the narrative in this segment by making this point. One of the best seasons that we've seen in Premier League football in recent years would have been the return from the COVID-19, when all of the games pretty much have been played at the UE conference.
I remember the point on the show.
Centre of Excellence, because it's a turf. One of the best matches that we've seen for probably decades in Premier League football was last year's high-scoring 5-4 Dunbeholden Cavalier match, was it? Yeah. At Sabina Park.
Yeah.
Good field. There were like 4 or 5 stunning goals in the match. It was talked about after the morning after as one of the best Premier League games anyone had ever seen.
Right.
And the Sabina Park field is a fairly true level pitch. And I think that tells a story.
Yeah, not a good look at all. And, we say this has been going on for so long, hoping that, something can change very, very soon. Well, also on Tuesday, it was announced that as part of a busy March schedule, Jamaica will host Trinidad and Tobago Soca Warriors in 2 friendly matches on the 11th and 14th. Hallgrimsson outlined the importance of those and other fixtures and as the team prepares for the CONCACAF Gold Cup this summer.
So, like I said before, upcoming month is big. 2 games here in Jamaica against Trinidad and Tobago. In that match, probably the bulk of the squad will again be players playing here the domestic league. Then we have Mexico away in Mexico City, and we're going to do the preparation here in Jamaica. And that will be good to bring the players over here, to connect them with the people, to connect them, to connect the people with the players as well. And then we have on the 15th of April, we have a friendly against Guatemala in New York. So again, I will have now 4 games to see as many players as possible, so we can have the best squad going to the Gold Cup.
So, Lance and Ricardo, we've always spoken about the quality of the Jamaica Reggae Boyz, so much so that even on this show we spoke about their chances and their chances looking very good. We're getting ready for a big assignment, CONCACAF Gold Cup. Let's talk a bit about the importance of these practice matches that Coach spoke about, and, getting more practice matches on the cards, because we know that we want to see the players play as a cohesive unit.
Yeah, very important for both the coach and the players. Hallgrimsson mentioned that for the Trinidad and Tobago assignments, it probably will be mostly domestic players, which I believe is a good thing, because he needs to have a solid base of domestic players and then integrate them with the foreign-based players to make a strong unit. I think the schedule is good enough, and as a new coach, he wants as much time as possible with these players who are going to be representing Jamaica internationally. So I think it's a good couple of months ahead of us. Happy to have TNT here, which means that I'll see our good friend Angus Eve, the national coach. I haven't seen him in quite a while.
We can bring him on set, huh?
Yeah, here's an issue I have, right?
Yes.
And a concern for me. I hear Hallgrimsson about wanting to see as many players as possible, and that's good, right? I understand the need for any new national coach to have a look at as many players as possible. But I saw Theodore Whitmore, at least in my opinion, make a big mistake. I mean, some say that Theodore Whitmore was under pressure from other entities within the JFF. As far as I know, he was head coach, though, and so I'll deal with that. Where we spent 3.5 years just looking at players, and we never narrowed that squad to say that this is what we're going to go forward with. These are the players we want to go forward with. This is how we want to play going forward. This is how we will attack World Cup qualifying. And I hope it's not a case where Hallgrimsson, and I think he's experienced enough that he won't fall into this trap where he's just continuously looking at players, and then you get to World Cup qualifying, and as the media, as a fan, you don't have an idea what your starting lineup is going to look like when World Cup qualifying starts. So I think importantly for him is that he does not fall into that trap. And quickly, I know we're running out of time, but there was a point he made at today's press conference, which I found incredible, where he was saying that one of the things he's doing right now is to put together profiles of players who can potentially play for Jamaica, whether they are in the Jamaica Premier League, whether they are in leagues across the world, whether they have never played, whether they've played before. And I'm thinking to myself, so what exists now?
Yeah, that was a shocker for me. I'm like, why isn't that in place already?
Are you saying to me you hire a head coach and the head coach comes in and he starts from scratch? You don't have profiles of the players who can potentially represent the country or who are already representing the country. I just think that's a massive downfall on the part of the Jamaica Football Federation and any federation who does not have that in place.
Yeah.
Because Hallgrimsson is not a miracle worker. He's not going to come in and immediately know every single player.
Yes.
But he comes in, and if the document is there that he can go to, then it makes a massive difference. And I just could not believe when he said it.
Yeah, for me, all I could think, Ricardo, when he said that was, why isn't this in place already? Why is it a man have to come into a setup and, as you said, start from scratch? But as he said, he's going to put things in place so whoever comes in after him will not have the same problem.
The problem is, Coach Hallgrimsson should not have to waste half of his day putting profiles together.
No,
yeah,
agreed,
right.
100%.
He has more important things he should be focusing on.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, team, we have a lot more to discuss, but we have to go to break now. We'll be back. Stay with SportsMax on YouTube and follow us on all social pages for updates, news and entertainment.